into some housekeeping since we're all joining in right now. So let me share these slides with you really quickly so we make sure that we're all on the same page for this. So, oh, of course, and it like just went over in my Zoom. Never fails. Okay, here we go. All right, everybody. So we are super happy to have you here today. We have a couple of housekeeping rules to go over. Please keep your microphone and your video on mute. We are recording this meeting, so we will be cutting it down and posting it to YouTube for you to watch later, but the only way to get credit for it is to comment your first and last name, company, and email address in the chat so we know that you were actually here. Also, please feel free to comment any questions in the chat or raise your hand. We will try to get to all the questions, but we cannot guarantee it. But Megan and Kelly have been super nice and said that if we don't get to certain questions, that they will compile the questions and we'll send a general email out with answers after this program. Also, we have a little disclaimer for you. We are not government or medical authorities, and we are not offering medical or legal advice. We ask that you consult your doctor or your attorney based on things. We are giving our opinions here, so this is our little disclaimer for you. It was also on the invite, so if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to contact us, and we'll be happy to answer them. Okay. Hi guys, welcome to the second chapter chat. We're super happy to have you here. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourselves and saying a little about who you are and what you do and why you're here.
Okay. I'm Megan Svensson and I work for Richard Avalar and Associates. We're an architect engineering firm that does some construction management services, design, litigation support, amongst many other things, inspection. And I'm really happy to be here.
I'm Kelly Zabel. I'm the president for Associate Northern California. We are a management company. And on the side, I do fitness and run coaching. So, which is part of why Rachel asked me here, I think.
Yes. And Megan, you do yoga, right?
I am. I'm a certified yoga teacher. I teach on the side. Kind of mixing my passions together, so I love it.
Awesome. Okay, so we are here today to talk about wellness, mental health, and routine, and how this relates to task management and being a good manager and a good business partner during this time. So much of building a healthy lifestyle has to do with habits, creating healthy habits, tasks, and routines. So what are some of the habits that help you add exercise to your weekly routine?
Kelly, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. So for me on a normal life, I know that by the end of the day, I usually either have night meetings or client meetings or something like that. So if I am going to work out, I have to do it in the morning. And so I have had to get up really early or get up earlier than I normally would to fit in time to work out for 30 minutes or 60 minutes a day. Which requires that I go to bed earlier so I can get some good sleep, because I also have discovered that I don't know if it's getting older or whatever, but if I don't get 3 hours of sleep, I am a grumpy monster. So my normal routine for habits is really just to make sure I'm getting to bed early on the nights that I can, sleeping and getting good sleep, but also getting a workout in the morning, whatever that looks like. Some days it's yoga, some days it's running, some days it's something else, but I have to do it in the morning because I will be talked out of it by the end of the day. So that's for me kind of my normal routine and sort of how I have added this into my life over the last 5 years. Megan, how about you?
Similar. I definitely have to have some structure and routine in my life. And so clearly this kind of new life, as we're all experiencing, has really changed that structure, I think, in such a big way. And previous to all of this, I did practice Bikram hot yoga every day. And it was something that I just kind of would always try to find a way to fit it in, whether that meant some days it was very, very early in the morning, some days it was very, very late at night, or some days it was in cities that I didn't live in, just to try to make it all fit. So the difference now, of course, has been that, I can't find a room that's 105 degrees with 40% humidity. And so I'm kind of adjusting that kind of new routine. And then kind of talking about sleep with, like Kelly mentioned, I am the same. If I don't get enough sleep, I don't do so well. I lack structure when I'm very, very tired, and patience. So kind of learning to navigate into this new cycle that we're having, I'm trying to definitely still get that kind of sleep and then keep some sense of a routine. And for me, one of the things I've definitely done is made a promise to myself from the beginning was to get up at the same time every day. A little later than I used to, but like 6:30 in the morning, develop some quiet time, kind of create my day of what that's going to look like. And that seems to be helping a lot of getting through that.
Yeah, I mean, my routine has definitely been kind of adjusted. I, Megan, you have kids and I have kids. I'm now homeschooling on top of my full-time job with my 4.5-year-old. So he's not, real self-sufficient to go off and do remote learning. So I try to get my workout in still in the morning if I can, or I get a portion of it done in the morning. Then I homeschool him, and then I work, and then I try to fit my, because I'm not commuting, try to fit in my, the other half of my workout or get my workout done later in the day, because I'm not spending time in the car. I mean, I used to spend 30 minutes to 2 hours each way, depending on where I was at in the Northern California area, in a car. And so I have the opportunity not to do that now. So I'm trying to not waste that opportunity. And I know that sometimes I don't feel great at the end of the day, but I will always feel a lot better by getting my workout in. And it kind of really, my headspace feel a lot better to get that done. I still feel like me, even though haven't left my neighborhood in 4 weeks. So.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay, so we're going to kind of build on how, having a healthy routine helps you with your task management. So let's talk about some exercise at home. So exercise is important for your physical and mental health, and so is having a routine. So can you talk to me about what are some of your ideas for how to work out at home, so people don't feel like they're constantly at their desk, or how to relieve some of that stress from sitting for so long?
So I'll start. And one of the things, obviously, most of everybody that does know me here knows I'm big into yoga. It's really changed my life. But a lot of people also may not know, but about 1.5 years ago, I started struggling with pretty severe anxiety. And so that yoga practice together seems to really help me get through it. And like I was saying before, is I usually practice a hot yoga. And so having to kind of adjust into developing something that's at home is I right away decided that I was going to offer, because I figured everybody was kind of feeling the same anxiousness that I was, just a yoga class on Zoom. And it started very, very small. It was just like, hey, if you want to come practice yoga with me. And I'm using a yin yoga practice, which is a restorative style of practice. Most of it's done on the ground. It's not a matter of how flexible you are or if you can balance or any of those kinds of things. And I'm designing the practice to be very specific to kind of our new working environment. I think all of us are probably sitting in maybe unusual chairs or, at the kitchen counter. So I'm doing a lot of things with our shoulders and things just to kind of relieve that. And that combination and that routine has helped, keep my anxiety under control, because again, I have that kind of routine. I know it's every day at a certain time. And also, of course, helping my body just relieve that stress by just getting into a relaxed state. And that's kind of what I have been doing. I've been doing some other things. My sister is here staying as well, from Seattle, and my husband, of course, is a Muay Thai fighter. And so he's also been doing some HIIT style daily exercises, and I tend to try to join there. And so I think having a kind of a group for people together to do it with, and that doesn't necessarily work right now for everybody. So if that doesn't, I think that's where that yoga class can come in, where you kind of feel like you're in a group, and it relieves a lot of things, a social piece, and a physical piece, and a mental piece.
Yeah, my husband is not into working out at all, so I don't get a partner. But a couple of things that I've done is, everybody can walk, so you can always get out and take a walk where you're at. Also, you have things in your house, there are unlimited videos on YouTube that you can use for this stuff. If you can't make Megan's yoga class, there's other videos that you can use if you're really into yoga. You can also do ride a bike. I've seen some really creative ways to put kids' bikes on like trainers, or make your own Peloton, like to put shoes. That's a great way to get your kids working out. If you don't have a bike at home or you want a bike, you can bike together. I know that Sandra from our office is doing biking with her kids, which I think is great. A jug of water. If you were a water hoarder and you have jugs of water, those weigh about 8 pounds. So you can go squat that out in your garage. If you're used to going to the gym, you can't go to the gym and your gym's closed. There's a lot of things around your house that you can lift your kids. Pasta sauce, or about one. So you could get a couple of those and do some 1 pound weights, some cans. If you have a baby, squats with the baby. There's a lot of videos about how to work out with your kids, which I think is a fun way to kind of get them involved. And you know, there's a lot you can do just with your own body weight at home. HIIT style workouts. You do not have to have equipment or be at a gym. Just literally look it up on YouTube. And you know, if you need suggestions, just let us know in the question box or the chat box, and Megan and I can like shoot you some suggestions of some different like websites to try or things to try. But moving your body for 30 minutes a day is the most important thing you can do for your mental health and your wellness during this time, and in general overall. We work in a very stressful industry, and so I think it's really important for us to spend some time just talking about, you know, you've been given this gift of time of not having to commute, not going into an office, not maybe doing as many night meetings as you normally do. What are you going to do with that gift of the time that you've been given? And a lot of people are doing things like donating their time or making masks, and I think that's a really worthy way to use your time. But how can you give the gift to yourself and your body? And I would say spend 30 minutes moving your body. If it's going on a nature walk with your child, do that. Like whatever you need to do, but I think give 30 minutes to yourself. So.
That's great. As you guys were talking, I mean, it just makes so much. I've been working from home for about a year, but when I wasn't, you know, I was still walking to the office. I was walking around the office at lunch and stuff. And now that we're all home, you know, it's important to like recognize that you need to take some time for yourself, and how having that routine of setting timelines for yourself will help you throughout your workday as well. So what was your routine before this, and what is your routine now? How has that varied?
Kind of like I mentioned before, so I did practice hot yoga every day pretty religiously, almost sometimes maybe a little bit over the top in my regard, because that kind of is just the style of mentality that I typically have. But so now I'm still practicing something every day, but I am trying to add a little bit more variety. And one of the things when Kelly and I have been talking, she mentioned too that when she's taken a walk, sometimes she'll utilize that as an opportunity to connect to somebody socially, like make a phone call, put your headphones in and just kind of walk. So maybe you're not necessarily just taking the time for yourself, but checking in with somebody else that maybe is alone or whatnot. Or also one of the other things is being able to include your children into it. So I've had a couple of moments now that I've been able to have my son join us. He's done a couple of the yoga classes with us, my husband as well. So even using that kind of workout or whatever time that you're putting for your body to bring someone else in. So typically, so now I'm just doing that daily yoga class and then adding other things if I can.
Yeah, I mean, same with me. You know, as we've had conversations about this topic together, you know, I've really, I would get up in the morning. If I don't get my workout done, I try to get it done later in the day. Sometimes it's at 1 o'clock, sometimes it's at 5 o'clock, sometimes it's at 8 o'clock. It just depends on, you know, when I can fit it in, but I try to make that promise to myself that I'm going to get it done. I spend a lot of time walking and talking on the phone. I used to do some check-ins with people when I was commuting. Well, I'm not commuting now, so we go out for a walk together. They take a walk, I take a walk, and we're doing kind of a check-in from a work perspective. So that has been really great, being able to kind of see. And so my routine's changed a little bit, and you know, what we're eating, what we're drinking. I mean, I'm certainly consuming a lot more mommy juice, also known as wine, many nights, just because it's a lot to get through all this. But I'm trying to make sure I'm sort of being intentional about what I'm eating, and it's not just crap, and maintaining that portion of my routine as well, just trying to kind of figure out breakfast and lunch and keep those kind of healthy, and eat on this sort of same schedule that I was eating on. And I get up at the same time that I would normally get up. I think Megan said she's sleeping in a little bit, but like still consistently getting up at the same time every day. And I think those kinds of things are important. So routine wise, just trying to understand that my routine's not gone. It's just shifted into a little bit different. And I've created kind of a new routine now that we've been in this for 4 weeks. So.
So before we get into the mental health part of all of this, let's talk about having kids at home. How is that working with your work routine? Do you have any tips and tricks for how you're handling it?
So my son, I will say a couple things. First and foremost, I have the most respect for teachers, more than I ever have before. I have an almost 20-year-old daughter, and my son is 11, and I've always think that their teachers are amazing, but I have even more now for a variety of reasons. One, I feel like the teachers are and from a personal level, they've really tried to connect, at least from my children, my son's school, really trying to check in with the kiddos. But I am learning to help become a teacher, and about once a day, trying to really get in there. My son's school specifically has not fully started, even though they've touched on this kind of new virtual learning. The true classroom daily required learning starts this coming Monday. So, but we've been kind of slowly tiptoeing into it. And what I will say is, and this goes for both his learning and me participating in that, but also kind of back to that routine thing, is I'm learning a lot of forgiveness and not getting too stuck on a structure, taking advantage of opportunities when there is structure and knowing I feel good with that, but also when it doesn't work out, forgiving myself for that. And I think we're all probably learning a little bit of that right now. So, Ellie, what about you? I know you're doing a lot of this similar.
Yeah, I mean, I have learned that with a small child, it's a lot of being okay that playtime is part of their learning. I've had to kind of learn that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not kind of, do this, and that it's hard for them to sit still for very long. And so we have to kind of break it up into smaller chunks throughout the day. And it's great because then I'll need a break from work, and because I've been doing something for a while or been on meetings for a while. So then I'll go work with him for, 15, 30 minutes, and he's getting what he needs, but there's a lot of guilt, am I doing enough for him? Am I doing enough at work? Am I doing enough for me or my husband or, whatever? And those are things, I think what I really struggled with at the first week that we were home was just kind of mentally like, am I giving him enough of what he needs? Is he, learning? Am I teaching him? I'm getting frustrated, to your point, Megan, like patience and grace. Yeah. And so I think grace with yourself, but also grace with your child, and being patient. So those were a lot of things that I really dealt with the first couple of weeks. We're now 4 weeks in, and we've had a good routine here. And next week is spring break for us. Well, we're going to just stay on the schedule because I think it's helpful for him to have a routine. I have a child that likes routine a lot. And so for him to consistently have a couple hours of learning in the morning and then, intersprinkled through the rest of the day, I think that will work for us. So we've just kind of decided as a family, we're just going to stay on this schedule. He's never going to know the difference anyway. So an advantage for us. But the other thing that I would do related to wellness, my son just started asking to go for runs with me. And so he can ride his bike and go for a run. And that's been something really fun for us to do. I know you've talked about your son joining in yoga, and this has certainly been the first time that he's been able to do that. And I have enjoyed the heck out of it. We have more fun. running together than being out on the trails together than we've, had doing anything in a long time. So I am very much enjoying actually doing PE with him, I guess we'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
We're displaying a little photo here of Megan and Kelly with their families trying to get some healthy activities happening. I loved the walk suggestion, especially taking a call while on a walk. And we love seeing, I know I've been seeing on Facebook, a lot of communities are doing like the sidewalk chalks or the window things. If any of our communities are doing that, anyone in the chat right now, if your community is doing that, please let us know so we can share it, because we think that that's just phenomenal. We did get a really good question in the chat from Celia Silva. Any ideas on how to entertain kids while you try to work?
Good question. So I'll let Kelly take that first, because she has a younger son, which I know sometimes when they're a little more young, one, you can't let them necessarily out of your sight, depending on the age, but sometimes they're a little bit, their attention span's a little shorter. So I'm sure Kelly has some good tips on that.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, if you got to use YouTube and some headphones, you got to use YouTube.
Yes.
Like, they're not going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Want a little extra screen time for a few weeks. That is my personal opinion. That's not a medical opinion, but I think if you have to do that, that's great. If they're into books or trucks or cars, like, save their favorite activity for when you have to be on that conference call. Give that to them, and that will entertain them for 20, 30 minutes if you need to. I know the teachers at my son's school are offering that, hey, if you have something important, we will reach out and do a Zoom call with your child during the time in which you need to be kind of on a work call. We're happy to help with that. And so I think your teachers are good resources related to some of those topics. And specifically for your child, if you're looking for activities to kind of help entertain them, your teachers are there with a lot of resources. And if not, Google and YouTube has a ton of suggestions of things to do, which I think has been helpful.
One of the things that I think has also been useful around here is having board games in a certain part of the house kind of out, just so that he sees them, or puzzles out kind of in a certain area, or again, I go back to the teachers. They are not all heroes wear capes, because one of the first emails I got was from one of the teachers that said, "Don't be so worried about screen time right now. This is also very uncomfortable and unusual for these kids, and they're hearing the news and it sounds very grim and all these things. If that's what makes them feel better or gives them a chance to kind of disengage from whatever else, all the other stuff that's happening, then let them have it." And then I noticed that Seema mentioned, and this is a great thing, is there is this what they're calling kind of a scavenger hunt or Easter egg hunt, which is teddy bears out in the neighborhood. Like, people are leaving them in their windows. I saw one on top of someone's car. And what it is someone somewhere started in the US that they were leaving a teddy bear out, and part of, you would go for a walk with your child and see how many you could find. And so those are little ideas of helping maybe do something with them, or maybe they can go out with their dad or their sister or something while you try to get a small workout in or whatnot. But I think,
yeah, and I think having, sometimes if you have an older child and a younger child, if there's a big age gap, or you have a range, the older child can kind of help with the younger child. During that time, it helps them get kind of a sense of responsibility, and takes them off out of your worry zone for 15, 30 minutes, just depending on how long you can do that. And they may, to be honest, be better about teaching whatever subject
right.
you're having to teach or learn. They're certainly closer to it than the last time I went through, those things. So
right.
They might be able to help with some of those kind of items, I think.
Awesome. Okay, I definitely want to keep going, but two other things. The chapter did a recent coloring page contest, and the person who designed that coloring page for us gave us a link to over 1,000 free coloring book pages. So I'll put that on the website, and I'll send it out in a follow-up email to this chat. And then I've also seen some parents have their kids draw a little "mommy is in a meeting" or "in a meeting" sign for their door, so they feel like they're a part of the work life
That's a
at
great
home.
idea.
Yeah, any kid age, I'm sure there's a cutoff. I don't really know, but but I've seen that that's actually kind of effective in getting them involved with what you're doing. So let's keep moving on. So having everyone at home, mental health is such a huge part of having a routine and feeling healthy. You're never alone anymore. Can you talk about mental health and how your routine helps you with that?
So that was one of the first things I think I noticed when I was feeling anxious was that, I mean, of course, I hate to put that there's so many negatives part of our new change of life here, because there is some really great gifts that we're having of time with the family and whatnot. But that does mean that our alone time, and especially if I'm an introverted extrovert, believe it or not. And I really do cherish having some time that's just by myself. That has been probably one of my biggest struggles. And so, of course, my yoga practice is a huge part, just having that kind of quiet moment, quiet time, just to let settle my mind. And if it's really, I need that alone time, I'll go sit in my car and listen to music. And my family, luckily, is very, very, responsive to it. If I say it, they're no problem. And that's that. And I don't think that I'm the only person. I think everyone in my house has had a moment of need just for some alone time. So.
Yeah, I mean, the same things as Megan. I think making sure that you're trying to have some fun. And our coworkers are really working on having, fun with each other. That helps with the mental, right? We're used to seeing each other at the water cooler, saying hi, asking about the weekend. We need to kind of create opportunities to be able to talk about those things with our friends from work and our work families, but having our extended family be a part of it. So I think, you're stressed about, I have to be on this call, and I'm on the call with the leadership team with my entire group, and your kid comes in the room, and normally you would be stressed about that, but making them a part of the call, or the dogs, like we're seeing everybody's dogs or kids or being on the call, and that has turned into more of a fun thing than it is a disruption and a stressor. So I think you have to kind of flip the script in how you're looking at some of those things, and enjoying meeting that personal side of our work families, which has been good. And it's a part of what's happening for our clients. You're on a call with them and their dog's barking in the background, and they're all looking for that too. So I think just acknowledging it and being okay with it. Like it's not a big thing for those things to happen. And so from a mental space, I think that's helped me. Getting a routine, kind of into a routine. I'm 4 weeks into sheltering in place where I live. And so we're really kind of settled in sort of a routine at this point, which has been good. But the first couple of weeks were hard. Like we each went through a moment, and it was sort of like the grieving process where you were just like, whoa, this is going to be crazy that this is our new reality for who knows how long. And for people who are alone or who live alone, it can be tough, and they may have more than one of those moments. It's not
Right.
ever alone, but they're alone in their house and they don't get to see other people. And so I think we have to be very conscious as leaders within our companies or within our teams about making sure that we provide opportunities for everyone to connect, especially visually, I think is important.
We're doing a weekly, couple weekly meetings now within the firm on Zoom, and one of them is been a happy hour, which we kind of had wine Fridays anyways, and so I integrated that pretty quickly just to be able to check in, and again keeping that kind of camaraderie. But I do think that point about there's the other side of me feeling like, oh my gosh, I never have any alone time, and then there's that other side, like I have a neighbor who lives alone, and I've gone checked on her, or my mother lives alone and drove to see her, of course, stood afar, but just kind of to see, instead of even just from a technology perspective, she could see my face. And I think it's really important right now that we're really checking in on everyone. I've gone to see even Janet Quinn.
Yeah, I call my mom a couple times a week, which is normal for me, but we've been just making sure to FaceTime. And then my mom and my sister and I, we all live far apart, so we have had happy hour together once. We're going to do it again. So, but with my friends, I'm missing my friends a lot more now. I'm kind of an introverted person, and I'm really, I don't need to be out with friends all the time when I'm at home. But now that I'm kind of into this, I'm missing, some time with my friends. So we're setting up, virtual happy hours and or just having coffee together in the morning and through FaceTime or Zoom or whatever you want to use. But that I think has been really nice to do. But it is certainly, it's tough. And I would say even if you're at home alone, you are never alone. There is someone who will talk to you. I mean, I'll have a conversation with anybody, and I know Megan will too. So if you're bored and you're home alone, feel free to call us. We will chat with you. So never alone. So just make sure that, even if you feel alone in that moment, you are not alone. There are people within this community and this larger CAI community that are really here for you and would love to help you or just connect with you.
Thank you, guys. You kind of touched on a question that was in there, how we can be together if you're living alone, how to see people more. I really appreciate you touching on that. We are going to try and talk a little bit about that next week for sure when we talk about social media and connectivity during this time. And I know we're running a little long. I know we started a little bit later with the actual meat of the program, so we're just going to keep going. If you have to leave, that's no problem. But I just want to make sure we definitely get to this next part, which is, how is your company adjusting to this working from home, team building, mail policies? What do you have?
I know Kelly's got a few things, especially considering that you're definitely essential, and so I know that we've talked a little bit about what she's doing. So I think
I mean, we are essential. So luckily, we are not impacting anyone's jobs. Like we haven't had to impact anybody's jobs. There are people who are on site who are having to work or work reduced hours. But we are, as a company, we are doing Zoom meetings and video conferencing. We used to do, staff meetings kind of once a week or once every other week. We're doing them now twice a week in a lot of locations, just so that we have an opportunity to chat and connect, because you don't have that person across the aisle that you can go say, I don't remember how to do this. I need help with this. Or, hey, how are you? So we're giving people opportunities to connect and see each other more frequently, which I think is important. Our culture committees are hilarious. They've come up with the most fun things that you can do virtually. 2 days ago, it was like a Spotify playlist where everybody could suggest their favorite songs and add them to a group playlist that you could play.
I love that.
Guessing baby photos, which should be interesting on Friday. We get to find this out on Friday. Step challenges for wellness. So there's definitely a ton of different ideas you can do in your company. You just have to kind of spin the thought process. I think, Megan, you mentioned your Friday happy hours, which sound like a lot of fun. We haven't tried that one yet, so I might steal that.
We're doing theme this week too. We keep it kind of, fun, and this week is a Hawaiian theme, and just stuff around the house, just something to try to break the stuff from it. I will touch on one thing, and I know we're getting close to running out of time, but of course I tiptoe around this because this isn't meant to be at all insulting, but I will say that my firm's been in business for 43 years, and the tenure in that firm is, a lot of the people that have worked there have been working there for 20, 30 years, and we didn't really utilize a lot of the technology that allows some of this efficiency that is out there. And of course, as soon as this happened, we're still working and operating as best we can. And I have really noticed a not only willingness, but kind of excitement to discover some of these new things that are out there available. Zoom is a great example. And I've had the entire company on a Zoom meeting at once. And again, this isn't meant to be anything insulting, but before that was a little bit more, they were a little more apprehensive or just less willing or even interested. And so I think there's a kind of a positive spin to this, and also realizing that you can be productive when you're not necessarily in an office. And maybe that mentality is, everyone's having a chance to realize and change their mentality if you didn't realize that before.
So I do want to have, when we were discussing this, we had a couple of interesting ideas about the two sides of the coin, the manager and the business partner, and that's part of the reason why we have you two here on today. But we had come up with some cool ideas of integrating your, maybe some of your essential services peoples like landscapers to judge your sidewalk contest, for example, would be a good idea for a homeowner association. Ways business partners can support efforts within communities and remain connected. They could potentially, Kelly, you had this great idea. Tell them about the flyer happy hour.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
want me
Oh, yeah.
to?
We were talking about, at the end of the day, I think we're doing a good job as an industry trying to stay connected, and we're trying to do a good job within our own companies. But, we are all here to serve our clients. And how do we make sure that we translate what we've talked about here today into the communities that we serve? Because there are people there who are alone or who may need help. And there's been kind of a number of different ideas that we've talked about in terms of how to translate, the fun that we're having in our culture into your community. So how can the communities do a happy hour? How can we help assist them with that? We talked about the things, business partners, Megan mentioned that they do a happy hour at the end of the week as their company. Well, is there an opportunity for our business partners to share that with the communities they serve? For example, you could do hosting a virtual happy hour for a community, or for the business partners who are still essential, who still have to go on site, so janitorial and landscaping. Can you have your janitor or your landscaper judge the sidewalk chalk contest, and then have everyone in the community do sidewalk chalk, or the Easter egg drawing contest, I think somebody mentioned in the chat. So those are good opportunities for people to be able to, get their community involved and try to come up with kind of a community event, but also business partners or management companies or management individuals who serve their communities to help organize those events, because frankly, we're more capable about that than an individual volunteer homeowner sometimes. And also, we can be involved and really deeply serve and entrench within our communities, which is, I think, something that we're going to need to do as this continues to get extended.
And all managers and business partners, you can share the daily yoga class that I'm doing, and I'll make sure that it gets sent out to you of how to get on and what the schedule is. But the more the better. I have a licensed Zoom, so I can take on quite a few. And, I think the idea of integrating everyone together right now, not just business partners in their own firm, or really kind of keeping us all as a big group, one big family, would be ideal.
Okay, so that's all the questions that I had. Do you have any other tidbits that you want to share at the end? Little spicy things while I ask people to post any questions they may have that we haven't gotten to?
I only want to share one tidbit that you actually wrote on it too, Rachel. I try to do little PSAs sometimes on my yoga, and I forget sometimes, but we're all staring at the screen so much right now, and you should be wearing sunscreen on your face, believe it or not. That blue light is actually really hard on our skin. And then hydration. I don't think that because we're kind of out of our sorts in regards to our normal schedules, what that looks like is, I don't think you realize, but we're probably drinking maybe a little bit more alcohol, or just not drinking water like normal. And hydration is such a huge factor. That's my tidbit.
I think those are good suggestions. I just get up and move your body. Like, it is so easy to just sit down in the morning with your coffee and then look up and it's 2 o'clock and you haven't eaten lunch or breakfast and you haven't moved and you have, 1,000 steps on your Fitbit or your step counter or whatever it is. Just get up and move and take that walk. You will not regret it, I promise. And if walking's all you're doing, then give yourself, and you normally are an Orange Theory person 5 days a week, like, who cares? You're walking, it's fine. It's a short period in your life.
Right.
It's not that big a deal. Just, do what you can and give yourself space and grace in this time.
Definitely. Grace and forgiveness.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that we got everything that we could for today. I really appreciate you both for taking the time to do this. I know it was very last minute, but we really appreciate it. To all of our attendees in the chat, please make sure you have commented your first and last name, company, and email address if you want credit for attending today. And we will be posting this on YouTube very soon.
So
So
good to
thank
connect
you.
with everyone. Have a good day, you guys. Be safe.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Guys.